of the Bobby O Show. My name is Bob O. Potzner. I'm an attorney at the law firm of Collins Hannafin in Danbury, Connecticut. I'm a litigator, and you'll understand why that's important as we get into this show. This is my first show in 5 years in the studio. Because of COVID, all the shows have been remote, and so I may be a little bit rusty. And not only do we have that being this first show in 5 years that's going to be in the studio, we also have a very, very special group of guests. Today we have the Immaculate High School, Immaculate of Danbury, Connecticut. We have a large portion of their Connecticut mock trial team that performed it very well in the state competition. And we're going to have them today in this special 1-hour edition of the Bobby O Show, where we're going to have interviews, we're going to have discussions, we're going to have fun, and we're also going to have some of the lawyers and some of the witnesses who participated in their actual competition statewide do role play for what they performed. And I want to thank very much my directors, Candy Ann Timnev and Jonathan Capiello, and also the assistants of Michael Fager and Helen Hedeman, who have come in specially to help today, and also Michael Volpe, who's a senior at Immaculate, who not only will be performing for us today, but also is working as our floor manager, which we needed because of all the, and you'll see as the show goes on, all the different things that had to be done to make this a good show. So you might ask, what is mock trial? What is that? Well, the Connecticut Bar Association, which I am a member of, has for many, many years hosted and sponsored a mock trial competition where students at various high schools, and I don't know the number of students in the high schools, but many high schools have participated in this competition where a case, literally a case is presented to them with facts and witnesses, and the students at each high school perform as either lawyers or witnesses. They do opening statements, etc., like there is going to be a real trial. And actually, judges from the Superior Court rule upon objections, rule upon which team won, which team didn't win, and there's moving on throughout the state, and this Immaculate team moved on very well through the state process. I happen to be lucky enough to judge in the Danbury region, where I did not judge Immaculate. I did judge Immaculate in the next region in Bridgeport, and they were phenomenal. And you'll see how you'll be astounded at how good they are, not because kids shouldn't be good, but when you hear their questioning, their examination, and their dedication, it was very, very, very impressive. And I just want to read to you one thing from the Connecticut Bar Association, which explained what the purpose of the competition is, because we have witnesses, attorneys, examination, etc. And the competition is important because we as lawyers, sometimes it's deemed as a litigator, did you win the case, did you lose the case, whatever, but literally you have to be a good winner and loser and do the best you can, and these kids did that in their presentations. And I want to tell you the Connecticut Bar Association, and by the way, Attorney Steve Sedensky, who was a former Chief State's Attorney in Danbury, was one of the heads of the Danbury region that I judged in. And the Bar Association says the following. I'm going to read it to you because it's very well written. The Connecticut High School Mock Trial Competition is first and foremost an educational program designed to encourage a deeper understanding and appreciation of the American legal system by providing students with an opportunity to participate actively in the legal process. Mock trials help students gain an appreciation for the rule of law, legal issues, and courtroom procedure. Moreover, while obtaining this knowledge, students develop oral advocacy skills, including proficiency in asking questions, listening, reasoning, and thinking on their feet, and you'll see in part of the role playing that happens today. Additional objectives include providing an opportunity to compete in an academic setting while promoting effective communication and cooperation between team members. Equally important is that participation in a mock trial will teach the students professionalism. Students learn ethics, civility, and how to be ardent but courteous advocates for their clients. In the law, we call that zealously representing our clients. Good sportsmanship, and respect for all participants are central to the competition. And we're going to have the coach, Chris Hauser, who's with us today, tell us a little bit about the background, and then we'll do some more things introducing the students as we go. Coach Hauser, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for having us here today.
My pleasure. Tell me, how long have you been a coach for this mock trial and for Immaculate High School?
This is my 6th year doing it at Immaculate.
And what's the selection process? How do you get the children involved, students involved in the mock trial competition?
Well, first of all, we have a sign up for clubs at the beginning of the school year, and any students that are interested put their names down on that sheet. In addition, if students come up to me at some point during the day or email me and say, hey, I'm interested in mock trial, I missed the club sign up, then I'll also add them to an email distribution list. Around the time that the Connecticut Bar Association publishes the case for the year, I will send out an email with some of the case materials to anyone that's interested in mock trial saying, hey, we're gonna have tryouts on a certain date. If you wanna try out for a witness, please read through this witness's affidavit, please read through the facts of the case and be prepared to answer questions as if you're that witness. If you want to try out for an attorney, please prepare a direct or cross-examination and an opening or closing statement. And then during tryouts, we'll have people perform. We'll pair up people that made questions for a certain witness along with individuals who prepped as that witness. And then based on that, a combination of just the amount of preparation it looks like people put into that, auguring with the kind of preparation they might put into mock trial in the future, in addition to who just had a good presence.
Sure.
Who seemed like they were believable.
And I believe that you get, Michael Volpe of your team is going to tell us an overview once we get into the discussion of the actual case, but you actually get a case from the Bar Association that you have to prepare both the plaintiff side and defendant side. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And how much effort do the children, I keep saying children, these are grown-up kids, how much effort do the students put into this? When do you start preparing and how often do you meet?
Oh, it is a major time commitment that people quickly realize once we start doing it. We usually start meeting, we'll have our tryouts around the first week in October. The first round of competition is then usually in early to mid-December. And depending on if you move on, like we did this year, you could be going into February or even March. We meet, for most of that time, we will be meeting twice a week. We usually meet from about 5:15 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., sometimes even later if we're doing a complete run-through of the trial. And that's just the time that we're meeting together to practice our roles. In addition to that, students have to spend a lot of time outside of that, working on their questions, working on their openings or closing statements, learning their affidavit outside of school.
And I've met all these students who are going to be the show today at your school, and I've seen them in the competitions, and I was amazed, just like you and I were probably heavily involved in other activities in scheduling today's show and scheduling meeting with your students. It was hard because you have tennis players, you have people who are in the show Anything Goes, one of my favorite shows from Broadway. And so these kids are devoted to the academics and the extra activities, which is very, very important. I have one last question for you before we take a short break, and that is, tell me the most enjoyable thing to you in doing the mock trial coaching. What's the most enjoyable thing for you?
I think the most enjoyable thing is that I learn something every year that I do it. That's one thing anyway. In previous years, unlike this year, I've had the privilege to work with attorneys who assisted us in coaching. So I feel like I've learned a tremendous amount about trial law and trial procedure. I still wouldn't want to try to defend myself in court, but it's been a tremendous learning experience. That's also coupled with the reward that some students seem to get out of it. The fact that some people end with a genuine interest in the legal field is a great thing to see.
Okay, we're going to take a very short break now, and then we're going to introduce to your team. Thank you very much for what you just said. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would you please introduce your team members who are here today?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. So starting from the back row, Michael Volpe is our senior captain, or one of our senior captains. He was also a lawyer for the state as part of the mock trial. Standing next to him to his right is Carmine Fardella. He was actually the defendant in the trial. To Carmine's right is, and Carmine was a junior, I should have said that as well. To Carmine's right is sophomore Maximilian Fleming, who was both a lawyer and a witness. He was a witness for the state and a lawyer for the defense. To his right, completing the back row, is junior Abigail Ransley, who was another lawyer for the state. In our front row, we have Daviana Reyes Espinal, who was a witness for the defense. She is also a junior. To her right is another junior, Emily Kuna, who was a witness for the state. And finally, but certainly not least, is our freshman, one of the future, hopefully future members of several mock trial teams, Arlis Arias Paulino, who was a witness for the defense as well.
And now what we're going to do is we're going to take another short break, and we're going to start into the role playing of the case. It's my pleasure now to begin the role playing so you all can see the terrific work that's been done by these students as part of the Immaculate mock trial team. And we're going to first have Michael Volpe give a short, about 5 minutes more or less, overview of this case itself so you can understand the witnesses who come on next. Michael?
Hi, I'm Michael Volpe, and I will be giving a brief overview of the fact pattern of this case. This case takes place in a Rocky Neck, Connecticut, specifically in Hammonasset Square. This is the center of this town. It is a bustling square, tons of businesses. We'll be focusing on 3 pizzerias: Sam's Black Rock Pizza, Dylan Hopyard's Pizzeria, and there's one more pizzeria, I forget the name, but we focus in on these 3 pizzerias and their rivalry. It has always been known since Dylan has entered the square that he has had a problem with another pizza owner, Emerson Harkness. They constantly are undercutting each other, and there's a constant rivalry. And we jump in the case right as it starts to escalate. There has been an incident where one of Emerson Harkness's decks has burned down, and there's a lot of finger pointing, there's a lot of blaming here. And ultimately, the issue goes unsolved. Police don't really have any clues to who has done this, but the issues continue to escalate further. Sam seems to just sit in the corner, not do much. He is very laid back and everything like that, and everyone kind of knows him. But a character starts to emerge, Willie Warramug. Sam turns Willie on to Emerson Harkness, letting him know that he might need some work. And Emerson ends up hiring Willie at a coffee shop where he pays him in cash to go work and fix the deck. It is later alleged that he and Emerson Harkness conspired to kill Dylan Hopyard, Emerson's rival. And in the facts of this case, that could be the very face of it. That's it. They hired him. They killed him. But there is an underlying tone here of Dylan's involvement in this case and Sam's involvement. Sam is a potential perpetrator for this case and has underlying tones of working with Willie Warramug. Several witnesses testify seeing him talking with Willie about Sam, cash exchanges going around the square, shifty business, and really it could have been Sam all along perpetrating to eliminate his competition using Willie. But ultimately, the case is up to the teams to present and argue their side of the case. The state arguing that Dylan Hopyard was murdered by Emerson Harkness, and the defense arguing that Dylan did nothing more but hire Mr. Warramug, and that really Sam and Warramug worked to eliminate both their rivals.
Thank you, Michael. I just want to, before I go to the next person speaking, the reason we did this overview is because the actual case presentation would have been 3 hours, and so we're obviously truncating the presentation. So we're going to have an opening statement by the state, and this is a criminal case. We're having an opening statement by the state first of all, but we're not going to have an opening statement from the defense, and that's why we had Michael give the overview. As a criminal case, the standard is beyond a reasonable doubt is the obligation of the side prosecuting. So I'm not going to go into the normal part of the presentation that would have happened at the trial, which is there would have been an opening statement by the state and then by the defendants. But here we're just going to have the opening statement by Abigail Ransley, who will do the opening statement for the state. Abigail?
Good morning. I'm Abigail Ransley, and I will be delivering the opening statement for the state. Good morning, Your Honors, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I am Abigail Ransley, and I represent the state with my co-counsel, Michael Volpe and Clara Rodriguez. This case is about rivalry, rage, and revenge. Dylan Hopyard, the owner of Devil's Hopyard Sicilian-style pizzeria, was a direct competitor to Emerson Harkness, owner of Ancient Pizza. They resided not just on the same town square, but in the same building, separated only by a coffee shop. From the moment Dylan Hopyard opened his business, Emerson Harkness saw him as a rival, and that rivalry got quite heated. Law enforcement had been called on numerous occasions to respond to altercations between the owners. Ancient Pizza's business struggled, and finally Dylan Hopyard seemed to have the upper hand. He purchased the building they both occupied, evicted Mr. Harkness, and monopolized access to a popular local craft beer company, Sleeping Giant, that both restaurants had previously relied on to draw customers. Emerson Harkness could not contain his rage, unable to handle the loss of the business into which he had poured his heart and soul. He was determined to get revenge, and the instrument of his revenge was Willie Warramog, a convicted murderer who occasionally did odd jobs around town. Harkness contacted Willie, and the two met on several occasions to plan the deed. On May 15th, Harkness handed Warramog a large sum of cash while confirming that he would complete the job and solve his problem. Then, on May 23rd, Willie entered Devil's Hopyard from the alleyway using a door code provided to him by Emerson Harkness and shot Hopyard in the back of the head. Mr. Harkness is charged with conspiracy to commit murder and the murder itself. The state intends to prove that Emerson Harkness met with Warramog to plan how to solve his problems with Mr. Hopyard through violence, which entailed him aiding Warramog and killing Dylan Hopyard. That is a conspiracy. Next, under the law, a criminal does not have to actually pull the trigger to be guilty of murder. The state intends to prove that Harkness was an accessory to the murder, since he sought out and paid Willie for that purpose to commit the deed. Both of these charges must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, just to clarify, that does not mean beyond all doubt. It means that reasonable people, such as yourselves, find the evidence clearly points to Mr. Harkness, leaving no reasonable explanation for any other possibilities. The prosecution will first bring to the stand Detective Sawyer Sherlock, an experienced member of the Rocky Neck Police Department. She will disclose the extensive rivalry present and police involvement. She will also testify to the investigative steps taken post-murder and the extensive collection of evidence tying Mr. Warramog to the crime and Mr. Harkness to him. Next, the state will call Jackie Pepin, a well-known restaurant reviewer and food blogger. She has covered the rivalry between Mr. Harkness and the victim extensively. She will describe the escalating tensions between the rivals and recount suspicious conversations between Harkness and Warramog, as well as the money that was exchanged. The last witness the state will call is Sam Talcott, another restaurant owner from Hammonasset Square, who was acquainted with the victim, Hopyard, the defendant, Harkness, and the triggerman, Warramog. He will depict the rivalry, but more importantly, he will also recount the confession of Willie Warramog after the murder and incriminating statements made by Harkness days afterwards. We expect the defense to call 3 witnesses. One will be the defendant himself, Emerson Harkness. He will no doubt deny any connection to the murder, and he will try to explain away his conversations with Warramog, claiming that he hired the ex-con for carpentry work. However, he will be unable to dispute his rage against Hopyard or the suspicious timing of his communications with Willie and his bank withdrawals. Next, the defense will call Aspen Wadsworth, a waitress and band promoter who worked for both of the owners. We cannot be certain of how she will attempt to absolve Mr. Harkness of guilt, but she will not be able to deny either her past issues with honesty or the depth of the enmity between the defendant and the victim. Beyond that, she has no personal knowledge of the crime. Finally, the defense likely will call Casey Matatuck, the craft beer distributor for Sleeping Giant Brewery, who sold to both pizzerias, at least until Mr. Hopyard forced her to stop selling to Mr. Harkness. We again cannot predict how she will redirect blame for Dylan Hopyard's death, but she will be forced to admit that Harkness had a meltdown before Hopyard's death and tensions between them had escalated just before Mr. Hopyard was murdered. Emerson Harkness undeniably had the desire to see Dylan Hopyard dead, as he verbally expressed multiple times. Remember, rivalry, rage, revenge. The rivalry between him and the victim led to rage, as the defendant saw his life's ambition crumbling before him. This led him to seek revenge. Your Honors, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I urge you to make the only reasonable choice. Find Emerson Harkness guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and guilty of the murder itself as an accessory, and hold him responsible for the murder of Dylan Hopyard. Thank you.
Abigail, just before you leave the lectern, a couple of comments. Now, there wouldn't normally have been comments coming, but just because of the show we're doing, I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, it was an excellent presentation you just did. And other than this would have been a jury trial typically for a criminal case, and other than questions and selecting the jurors where lawyers would be sort of hinting about the case, what it's about, and that kind of thing, this is the first opportunity to really express your position. And it's important not to oversell your position, because at the closing arguments, there would be some connection made to your opening statement, et cetera. Just want to ask you one question. In doing your presentation, if you were to pick out one or two key points that you raised in your opening, what would those be?
I think the biggest key point is the three themes that I said, the rivalry, rage, and revenge. That theme really ties the whole case together, and it really provides a concise way to follow along and understand what's happening. I would say the second point is how the defense can try to come up with whatever excuses they want to, but they will not be able to meet the burden of reasonable doubt.
Thank you very much. Now, the next thing we're going to do, there would typically now be a defense opening statement. We're not going to have that now. We're going to now go to an examination of a witness. And I'm going to ask the attorneys who are going to present and the witnesses just quickly say your name and what your role is in the next few minutes, and then we'll go to the examination. Maximilian, go ahead.
Hello, I'm attorney Maximilian Fleming. I'm an attorney for the defense, and I'll be conducting the direct examination of the witness.
Okay, and Abigail, what is your role?
I am attorney Abigail Ransley, and I will be crossing the witness.
And the witness, your name please, ma'am.
My name is Daviana Reyes-Espinal, and I'm Casey Matatuck for this trial.
And there may be objections that I'll have to rule on as a judge, so we'll see what happens. So let's have the examination, please.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Please state your name for the court.
My name is Casey Matatuck.
What is your current occupation?
I am the head and, sole member of the promotions department for Sleeping Giant Brewery in Rocky Neck, Connecticut.
How long have you been working at Sleeping Giant Brewery?
It's about 5 years now. I've been working there since right out of college.
And what are some of the things that you do as part of your job there?
I work very closely with all of the business owners in the square, or at least the ones that we work with, although I try to sell to all the others. And I also am in charge of giving out advertising gifts and even dressing up as the Easter Bunny or Santa.
And how do you interact with the other local businesses in your position?
As I said, I'm the only person in my position, so I work very closely with them just to ensure that they're happy with our product and to try and get our name out there as best we can.
And how well have you gotten to know the owners of those businesses?
Oh, extremely well. I make it my point to always be around. I've spent practically all my time in specifically these pizza restaurants, and I've even worked with them after hours if need be.
And specifically, how well would you say that you've gotten to know Dylan Hopyard and Emerson Harkness?
They're our two biggest customers. We've even given them their own separate lines. I'm constantly with the two.
And you say you worked with Mr. Hopyard after hours?
Yes, I would on Tuesdays.
How did you get in after the building was closed?
He had given me the code for the alleyway entrance on a slip of paper a while back, although I have unfortunately misplaced that.
How would you describe the relationship between Mr. Hopyard and Mr. Harkness?
Objection, speculation.
Your Honor, if I may?
Yes, you may.
As the witnesses just testified, they have extensive interactions with both of the people listed, both business and otherwise, so they would have ample knowledge as to their relations with each other.
May I have the question read back, please? I'd have the court reporter do it, but we don't have a reporter, so just tell me the best you can.
Of
Your
course.
question again?
The question was, how would you describe the relationship between Mr. Hopyard and Mr. Harkness?
I'm going to overrule the objection. You can answer the question, ma'am.
I would say they had a negative relationship. It wasn't exactly a secret, actually. In fact, the reason that they have their individual lines is because they had caused a scene once at an event, and we decided it would be best to give them exclusive lines.
And how do you know about this feud?
As I said, it's not a secret at all. In fact, they'll even post reviews on each other's Yelp or Twitter pages.
Have either of them confided in you personally about it?
Oh, all the time. Anytime I go to speak to the two, they just hate each other so much that it goes into every conversation.
Are you familiar with a man named Sam Talcott?
Objection, relevance.
Your Honor,
Yes?
Sam Talcott, part of the defense's case is that Sam Talcott is the real co-conspirator for the murder, and so who he is very important to the case, so of utmost relevance.
Yeah, I'm going to overrule the objection because it's part of the foundation that he's laying at this point in time. There may be objections later on for further questions, but right now he's beginning his foundation, so overrule the objection. You may answer the question, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you like me to repeat the question?
May you please?
Are you familiar with Sam Talcott?
I'm very familiar with him.
How so?
He's another owner in the square. He runs his own restaurant and bar, so I've gone in there plenty of times to convince him to sell our beers, as well as just being in there since it's across the street from the businesses that I frequent the most.
So, based on your relationship with Harkness and Hopyard, and your times in Sam's Black Rock, do you have an idea about how each of those businesses was doing?
Yes, I have a
Objection,
fair.
speculation.
I'm going to sustain the objection. There's no foundation as to how she would know. So you may need to ask a few preliminary questions to get to this point. So I'm going to sustain the objection. In other words, you can't answer this question, but he'll ask you something more. I'm sure he'll be good enough to get to where he wants to go.
Thank you, Your Honor. How would you describe the level of relation that you've had with their businesses?
I have quite close relationships with them. As I said, I spend practically all my time there, so I'm a familiar face in all the restaurants, and just because of the years we've worked together, they confide in me on many things. As I said, their feud, as well as just what's going on in their lives, and just they rant a lot to me.
Specifically speaking about business, do you frequently observe their ledgers or interact with them on payments?
Yes, I do. I've heard about their businesses from themselves as we talk in conversation, and since our companies work together, I have knowledge on that base as well, and they'll even rant about each other's businesses to me as well.
So, based on your relationship with Harkness and Hopyard, and your times in Sam's Black Rock interacting with these businesses, do you have a good idea about how each of those businesses was doing financially?
Yes, I do.
Did any of them ever fall behind on payments?
Yes, some of them unfortunately were.
How would you say that Sam's business in particular was affected by the feud?
Objection, speculation.
I think that's an allowable question. I'm going to overrule the objections.
Thank you, Your
But
Honor.
these are probably just because you're getting overruled or sustained does not reflect on the appropriateness of your question or your objection, but sometimes you just don't get what you want. Like the Rolling Stones, right? Can't always get what you want.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
May you please? Thank you.
How would you say that Sam's business in particular was affected by the feud?
It was positively affected.
What makes you say that?
With all of the negative reviews that they would leave on each other's posts and just the tensions that they caused being in the same building, people would have gone there instead just because of the environment.
Did you ever see any indication that Sam involved himself in the feud?
There were some indications.
What did you see?
Once I had gone into Sam's and I noticed a stack of Emerson's flyers, which was really strange. I even recall him having wondered where they were around that time.
Objection, I ask that this witness's testimony be stricken from the record as it does not, flyers are not relevant to the case.
May I
Your
have
Honor,
a-
if I may.
Well, yeah, I'm going to have the question read back, please.
The question read back. I had asked the witness whether there were any signs that Sam Talcott was involved in the feud. They said yes, and I asked her to elaborate on that.
Now, what's your objection? Why is that not appropriate, you think, Abigail?
She referred
Attorney
to,
Abigail, I'm sorry.
That's okay. She referred to flyers being seen in Harkness's establishment, and I do not find that to be relevant to the case.
Your Honor, if I may.
Okay.
Harkness.
I was just going to rule in your favor, by the way, but you can go on further if you'd like. There's an old thing that lawyers say about closing your briefcase, but go ahead, add what you want to
My
add.
apologies.
No apology, I'm just trying to help you.
Both Harkness and Talcott are suspects and members in this case, and so their involvement and whether there's anything suspicious about their activity is relevant.
I'm going to allow the question to be answered. And also in our mock trial, we try to rule in the favor of letting questions be answered. But both of you did a good job, but answer the question, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, sorry.
I'll go back a bit. Did you ever see any signs that Sam Talcott involved himself in the feud?
Yes, I had.
What were those signs?
I had gone into Sam's one day and noticed a stack of Emerson's flyers, and I even recall Emerson having wondered where those flyers were.
And how did that strike you?
It was honestly suspicious. He had no use for the flyers at all.
Do you recall an incident in which Emerson Harkness's deck burned down?
Yes, I do.
How are you aware of this fire?
I had seen it myself around the square, as well as being told about it by Emerson.
And were there any signs that Sam may have been involved in that?
Objection, speculation.
I think you'd do a little better question, different question, to lay your foundation. So
I
I'm
can
going to
adjust my line of
sustain
questioning,
the
yeah.
objection, but you can go ask a different way, counsel.
By your knowledge, what sparked this fire?
A stack of Emerson's flyers.
Do you recall seeing similar flyers out of place?
Yes, I do. They were identical to the ones that I had seen in Sam's.
And after the fire, did those flyers remain in Sam's bar?
No, they weren't. They were gone in the following week.
And what was Sam's reaction to this incident in particular?
He was in such a better mood that week. I understand that, like, he would have been in a good mood anyway, but he was so much more upbeat that week and even said that they had come in handy.
That
Excuse me
what
one
had come in
second,
handy?
counsel. Excuse me,
The
counsel.
flyers.
Because the air conditioning here, Abby, can you speak a little bit louder when you speak, because there's a little air conditioning floating around. Thank you. Didn't mean to interrupt your flow.
Were you familiar with the man known as Willie Warmog before this case?
Yes, I was.
Did you ever have any notable interaction with him?
Yes, there was one instance.
What was it?
I was in Dylan's restaurant in my bunny suit, trying to advertise and give out samples, but when I refused to give Willie another one, he ended up pushing me into a glass table.
Did Dylan Hopyard see this?
Yes, he did.
What did he do about it?
He issued Willie a lifetime ban.
And how did Warmog react to this?
He was enraged. He kept going on and on about how he would get him back one day or the next, and that he would know it was him that did it.
Could you tell the court what happened on the night of May 23rd?
I was going to work after hours with Dylan, as I typically did, and instead I found him dead.
Can you describe Mr. Hopyard's position when you found him?
Yes, I had walked in and seen him kind of slumped over his desk.
What did it look like he had been doing when he was killed?
He was reviewing the financial papers that we were about to go over.
And to your knowledge, would anyone else be aware of that detail?
No, just myself.
And what makes you so sure of this?
I had called the police immediately, and I didn't see anyone else there.
Did you ever witness any direct physical altercations or threats between Mr. Harkness and Mr. Hopyard?
No, I hadn't.
And you said earlier that Mr. Hopyard gave you a slip of paper with the code to his door on it. Do you still have that paper?
No, I don't.
Where do you think you may have lost it?
I believe I may have lost it in Sam's.
To wrap it up, do you have any financial incentive to testify today?
No, none.
So then why are you choosing to testify?
I've been a member of this community for such a long time. I really just want to do my part in doing the right thing, and I believe that testifying for this side is the right thing to do.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Okay, I have a couple of comments. You have a cross-examination, is that correct, attorney?
Yes.
But how long do you think that's going to be for your cross?
Maybe,
Like 8 minutes?
8 minutes, possibly, maybe 7.
Okay, because the court staff has a lunch break shortly. Let me do one quick thing before we get into that, and that is a few things. First of all, the witness, you did a very good job in one particular thing, and that is when I have a direct examination witness, I always say if there's an objection and there's back and forth, always ask for the question to be repeated. And you did that, and that was a very good job. And that's one thing for you. And Attorney Maximilian, you asked some very good questions. And just in 20 seconds, tell me what was the most important thing you were trying to get out through your direct examination?
The most important thing for this examination in particular was establishing the credibility of the witness and making sure that any attempt to undermine that on the cross-examination would be unsuccessful, so that the prosecution couldn't create as much of a compelling case.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
Attorney Abigail, why don't you do your cross? I'm going to ask you to limit yourself to 4 minutes.
Okay.
I don't mean to ruin the flow, but I want to get other witnesses done. Thank you.
That's okay. May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
You said on direct that you work in promotions for Sleeping Giant Brewery, right?
Yes, I do. I'm the head of the department.
So you built relationships with Harkness and Hopyard, correct?
Yes, I have over the course of the past few years.
Sleeping Giant was popular at both restaurants, right?
Yes, it was.
So as a result, you had some knowledge of their feud, correct?
Yes, I did, but everyone did as well.
You were aware Harkness's business was struggling, correct?
I was aware that he had been falling behind.
He was not able to keep up on his tab with you, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance?
Question again, please.
He was not able to keep up on his tab with you, right?
What's the objection? So it's cross-examination. She can lead the witness, so what's your objection?
My objection is to relevance, as while on direct I did say that the financial standings of some of the suspects was relevant, Harkness's in particular is not, because his business isn't factored into his feud with Dylan Hopyard.
Your Honor?
Go ahead, sure.
This specifically, this question shows financial incentive. In fact, it proves competition between Harkness and the victim Hopyard, which goes to the incentive that he may have to commit the crime.
Cross-examination needs to be within the scope of the direct, and since you raised it in the direct, sir, she has a right to ask her question. Objection overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
May you please?
He was not able to keep up on his tab with you, correct?
Unfortunately, he's been falling behind.
He was forced to restrict his menu because he couldn't afford as many ingredients, right?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
I was just talking to Marshall about another matter. I'm sorry, what was the question again, please? What was your question?
He was forced to restrict his menu because he couldn't afford as many ingredients.
And your objection is?
My objection is to speculation. The witness has testified to having extensive financial knowledge of the business proceedings of Harkness, but not at all as to why he might change his menu, as the witness has no experience in, attending a bar or a restaurant.
Very good objection, very good response, but I'm going to allow the question to be answered.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You both did a good job on that. By the way, I'm having a little microphone difficulty, so I'll try to speak louder if I can. It's the first time in my life I've been told I'm too soft, but that's okay.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
May you please?
He was forced to restrict his menu because he couldn't afford as many ingredients, correct?
I can't be 100% sure that that's why he had made the cuts, but it could be.
And you believe that Dylan Hopyard may have been partially responsible, correct?
I suppose.
It would have further hurt Harkness's business if he was unable to sell your company's beer, correct?
Well, the beer that I sold them was a big factor in their business and a large selling matter, but yes, it would have hurt.
And Dylan forced you to stop selling to Harkness, correct?
Unfortunately, we had to put our own company first.
And you told him that part of the reason was to, quote, keep your new exclusive customer, Dylan Hopyard, happy, end quote, correct?
Again, unfortunately, we had to put our own company first.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
This was after Dylan bought the building and started eviction proceedings against Harkness, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Overruled.
May you repeat the question, please?
This was after Dylan bought the building and started eviction proceedings against Harkness, correct?
I believe the timeline went that way.
So Harkness, in your opinion, quote, snapped, correct?
He was reeling because of the loss he was going through.
In fact, at the Savor the Square festival that you attended, you heard him threaten to, quote, take what Dylan cared about most, end quote, correct? Yes or no?
I recall him saying things in anger.
Counsel, last question.
Repeat the question?
No, you have one more question.
Okay.
Sometimes judges cut people off at some
That's
point,
okay.
and it's not reflection upon the lawyer, it's reflection upon time.
You never witnessed Sam say anything against Harkness or Hopyard, correct?
Not directly, no.
Okay. There's a lot more she could have asked and would have asked, and it's in her notes to have asked, but we have a little time commitment here. I just want to say a couple of quick things, and that is, note to the audience, this is a cross-examination by Attorney Abigail, and therefore leading questions are permissible by her in the cross-examination. We are now going to take a break for the staff. Back to our show. I have 3 more people who are here today who were participants in the mock trial competition, but because of our time shortage, we were not able to plan to have them do their parts. So I'm going to ask them some questions and let them have some airtime to discuss their involvement in the program. So why don't we start with the gentleman, introduce yourself, and go to the lady, and then the next lady, who you are and the roles that you played in the mock trial that's not shown today.
I am Carmen Fardella. I'm a junior, and in the mock trial, I played Emerson Harkness, who was the defendant.
Hi, my name is Emily Kuna, and I played Jackie Pepin in this case, and I am a junior as well.
Hi, my name is Arlise Arias Paulino. I'm a freshman, and I played Aspen Wadsworth for the defense.
Great. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys the same question to have you respond. Is it pronounced Arlis?
Arlise.
Arlise, tell us how you prepared for the mock trial competition to get ready for your role as a witness.
Well, we obviously have our
A little louder,
affidavit.
please.
We have our affidavits for the person that we're acting out. So as Aspen Wadsworth, I had to review her affidavit a couple times, write out some key points so I could remember them, and go through with my direct attorney, who was Karina Soni, and just review the questions she's going to ask me, and then prepare with a possible cross attorney so I could be ready for any questions that might come for me in our cross and direct.
So in your preparation, you both were preparing for being asked questions by the attorney asking you questions, but also be ready for the tough questions in the cross-examination.
For sure.
Did you find the cross-examination part hard?
It was difficult because some different attorneys ask different questions, and you might not be expecting some questions. In one instance, I got asked a really awkward question for me, and I had to ask for repetition. So it's great to be confident in what you're saying and just know that you're there to represent your character and just to act out to your best ability.
And the important thing on cross-examination is you hear what's been presented in the direct examination, you know what your theme is in your examination, and what you want to do is you want to ask limited questions to only get across what you want to do, knowing that after the cross-examination, the other side has a chance to redirect, so you want to be careful in not going too far and opening up, shall we say, a can of worms. Okay, and I'm sure your attorney helped you in that regard, as well as your coach. Emily, you're next, right?
Yes.
Tell me how you prepared.
I think my favorite technique in preparing was definitely printing out the affidavit and highlighting the key points. I felt like that was the best way for me to retain the most important information for me to know. I would also just go through it with my other witness team members. I'd have them ask me questions, as well as the people who were directing and crossing me, just to make sure I really retain all the information I needed to know about my character.
And it's really important when you're a witness. When I prepare witnesses, sometimes you can't prepare a witness, but the ones who are, so shall we say, favorable witnesses, you want to make sure they're ready for the direct examination and the cross.
Yes.
But the other thing to be prepared for is, what if I get asked a question in the cross that I'm not really ready for? And I'm sure that happened perhaps in your competition. How did you handle those kinds of things?
For questions that you might not feel like you're able to answer, I mean, the first thing I'd always do is look at my attorney and see if they had any objections, because I think that'd be like the best saving grace. But even without that, just trying to think as your character. You've spent all this time learning about what they had to say, what they did, and so I feel like for questions where you don't really know how to answer, the best thing you could do is just try to answer it like they would.
Yeah, and also the old saying, less is more. Sometimes when people either direct or in cross-examination, if they don't know the answer, and it happens either way, they try to talk too much to fill in the gaps. And I think it's the lesson, and I remember you guys as witnesses, that you folks did a good job in trying to answer what you knew and trying to do the best you can to answers that you didn't know the answer of, but not going too far to maybe get a trap that you're not aware of.
Definitely.
Sir, how about you? What was your experience in getting prepared and how you got prepared?
Well, the whole way that I prepared was that I focused on what exactly my character knows. Because when you're at practice and you hear other witnesses talk about their affidavits and what they know, their point of view, all the affidavits have different information. But as a witness, you're only responsible for what you know and what you say in your affidavit. So that if you're being asked a question about something that a different witness said in their affidavit, that's not under your knowledge, so that you should not be answering those questions. And that's where a lot of the attorneys will try to get you. You hear this or that, and then you will incriminate yourself more than you did and more than you should be. And just the more that you know exactly what you know and what you have to say, if a question falls out of that range, you can simply say that you don't know what they're talking about, and then that looks much better from your standpoint because of how you're not trying to overreach and talk into something that, one, you don't know, and two, that you shouldn't be answering.
This question's for any of the three of you. I've noticed in dealing with this, your team, this is the third time I've met with you folks, both in presentation at the school, at Immaculate, and now, and I noticed a lot of good camaraderie, good, kidding and going back and forth, but also helping each other out. For any of you three people, tell me about the experience you had in mock trial that brought you together as a team. Analogous if you play sports or if you're in a production, anything goes, whatever. Did you find good camaraderie being developed by and amongst all of you? And if so, how? Anybody wants to answer that question, raise your hand. Go ahead, you are Emily, right?
Yes. I mean, we met 2 days a week, and I feel like at the end of the day, you're just in an environment with so many other people. I feel like it was such a bonding experience. All of the times we went to different courthouses and held our trials, I feel like just seeing your team members perform what we have been practicing so much for, really, it makes you feel proud of them a little bit. And I feel like it really brought us together as a team, and I think that's what allowed us to move on so far in the competition.
Anybody else want to respond to that question?
I can answer as well.
Yes, and your name again is?
Arlise.
Thank you.
Well, I'm a freshman. I was the only freshman on the team, but I feel like how she said at the courthouse, but also on the bus rides to the courthouse and back to school, and just going out. In our first tribe, which we had in our hometown, Danbury, we were able to go out and eat together as a team, and just being able to go out and do team bonding on our ways to the events and back just helped build us together as a family.
Anybody else?
Of course, I mean, just being on this team for as long as you have, like, this is my 3rd year, Michael's 4th year, so I've been with a lot of these same people since my freshman year. So you do just grow up and see that a lot of these kids are one in all your classes together. So, when you're not being questioned during mock trial, you're all doing homework together. You're all trying to figure out or study for this big test that you have coming up. And so having that experience at mock trial where you're seeing these same people that you see in your classes twice a week for 2.5 hours sometimes, it really does just grow those bonds closer. And I mean, they are all your friends at the end of the day, At this point, I mean, you can text all of them here or there, and you really just know each other more than you would have without really mock trial.
Great. I have some questions now for Abigail. Since I cut you off in terms of limiting your examination time, first question, what did you learn most in the mock trial competition? What did you learn?
I think I learned most, I think I would be able to, 2 things are tied, I would say. The first one is how to deeply analyze information and find all the loopholes in every contingency having to do with anything, really get that deep understanding of anything, which I think is gonna help me in the professional world as well, and it's great to gain that kind of experience. And the second thing is really team bonding and how putting multiple heads together is better than just one. And looking at different perspectives to get everyone's understanding of a concept is really eye-opening to see how other people look at things.
During the actual competition, after the presentations by both sides, the judges scored the exam. We didn't tell you how you did at that point, but we also gave, we as judges, in fact, I judged with Judge Sadi, who's in the Danbury court. I was a judge also with him. And we tried to give constructive criticism. Were there things that were helpful that we said to you? Was it a helpful experience to have judges tell you, well, try this the next time or do this the next time? And it wasn't to you personally, it was to the team. Did you find it to be useful?
I found it very useful to see what different ideas of what you can do and really get knowledge from those that are professionally experienced in the field and really do know what they're talking about. It was very interesting to consider the constructive criticism and to try to apply it, because sometimes it's easier to hear it versus actually do it. So that was very useful and helpful, I feel.
I understand you're a concert pianist, is that correct?
Yes.
How did that activity, performing in front of large groups, help you in the competition, if at all?
It definitely helped with the nerves. There's a lot of pressure on mock trial students and everyone that participates in it, whether it's lawyer or witness, or even just watching, hoping that your team wins. For me, performing in recitals and on stage and such helps me with knowing how to calm those nerves and be prepared and calm and collected, because you have to do a lot of quick thinking. And if you make a mistake, you have to be able to play it off and such. So that was very useful that I was able to gain from my piano experience and apply to this.
I've been practicing law for about 40 years, and my theory is if I don't have butterflies in my stomach at my trials, and I'm a trial lawyer, so I'm in court all the time, although with COVID, it's different a little bit now, but if I don't have butterflies, I feel like I haven't gotten ready and prepared. Did you have butterflies?
I had butterflies every single time, but it was, I use it to my advantage. I turned the nervousness into excitement and focus.
Tell me a little bit about how hard Chris Hauser, your coach, did, and your feelings of you, and speak for the team as to how appreciative you are as to what he did for this mock trial, his 6th year.
We are very appreciative of Mr. Hauser. I think he put the perfect amount of pressure and expectancy on us so that we're still motivated to do the work but not necessarily overwhelmed. He was always there to help, and I know for a fact that he put a lot of dedication into the club and spent a lot of his own time reviewing our work and helping us out every step of the way, but also leaving us enough room to have some independency and be able to do it on our own so that we actually gain knowledge.
I want to thank, in fact, I'd like to stand up, except I'm afraid my mic might go kaflooey, but I want to stand up and give a standing ovation to this wonderful team of students who dedicated a lot of hard work. It is not easy to be a lawyer. In our society now, the rule of law is being tested, and I think you folks learned a great deal, and every one of you did a wonderful job in your presentation that I judged, and you were superb on the show. In fact, you didn't really need me. And so I want to thank you all to Immaculate High School for letting the students come for an hour to the studio. I hope you enjoyed it. And this has been Bob Potsner thanking each and every one of you for the hard work you did, for coming to the show, and making this show as good as it has been because of the guests. This is Bob Potsner, Shalom, which means hello, goodbye, and peace.